Welcome, Jana.
Hi.
Welcome to the awkward lift. Oh,
You need like this an introduction sound.
oh yeah. It's too advanced. Let's just keep the sound effects, you know,
Yeah.
from the mouth.
From the mouth.
Mhm.
They're good. Yeah.
Nice. Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the awkward lift. Please share an awkward story. Do you have any?
Yeah, I have one. It's not me being in a lift, but it's a story about how you learn languages connected to the word lift, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a friend of my ex-boyfriend who speaks 10 languages, and he was like this crazy brain of languages. And so he told a story once that he was asked on the street from someone. There's a community apparently of people who can, like learn things very quickly. They can just like go through a book and they can memorize just words.
Yeah.
And this is like what they do, and they have like competitions and whatever. And so because I was just in the first like baby steps of learning Spanish after having it in school when I was 18, I was like, okay, can you teach me how to memorize and how to learn? And so he said, we were in this flat, and he was like, okay, what word do you want to learn? And then I said, I want to learn lift. So it was ascensor.
Okay.
And so then he said that you have, how is it called when you put a word into different syllables like this, like ascensor, like when you do that in school. I'm really
When you
bad
put words into...
in this like brackets. There is a word in grammar that you use to do that. So to learn, do you know that? No?
I know a lot about languages, but not that thing.
Whatever.
No,
whatever. So he said that
you spell
kind
out
of
syllables.
Yeah, and you kind of like you break down the word, and then you can do in your own language. For me, it was like ass, and he said like you're gonna do a story around it. So you memorize, and the story needs to be something that it's really maybe dramatic or whatever. And so he said for ascensor, so you put like the words into different like smaller brackets, and then you create a story. And so my story was an ass sitting on a sensor in the lift, and then the lift explodes. And so I was it was like ass sensor, like ascensor.
Yeah.
And this is how I remembered the story and how I remembered the word, and I never forgot the word. And so after the obviously, and then after this, I did it with many other words, like the same thing, and it was really cool because you kind of create bridges and get also really creative, like in a crazy sense, like just creating crazy stories in your mind, and then you remember words.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Ascensor.
Ascensor.
For you who need a technique.
That's a language learning technique.
That's funny that was the word. You're like, why did you ask for lift of all the words?
I don't know, because I think we were in a flat, and then it was like, I don't know, I don't remember. It's like a long time ago, but I think maybe I came there and I was in a lift. I have no idea. Yeah. See?
Awkward learnings coming from great places.
Coming from great places. And it helped me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's in German you have this word called like what? Donkey bridge or whatever.
Which one?
Donkey bridge. What do you call it in German?
Donkey bridge?
Yeah.
Like a donkey.
What's a donkey called? Esel.
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 Eselsbrücke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that's for memorizing.
It's something like yeah, exactly.
Things.
It's something like that. Like creating bridges. I remember also like timbre was for me like the bell in Spanish. I also like connected the story. So there were like many words where I had like stories. Now I don't really remember them anymore so much, but yeah.
Timbre. Yeah. How do you what does that? How do you associate that?
I think that was a really weird word. Also, what I did, like, so my ex-boyfriend is called Tim, and so I did like Tim, and then it's German. It's like, I don't even want to say it. It's horrible. But it says Tim burns, like brennt in German. It's like timbre.
Poor guy. Oh my god. I thought you were gonna say like Timbro or something
No.
like that.
No. So, yeah. Crazy
Oh,
story.
wow. Sorry for you, Tim. Tim Brand. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, timbre, I remember it as, I think of timber.
Mm-hmm.
You ring and then like timber.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, you ring on that and there's, inside there is like a tree falling.
You see.
That's how I remember, yeah.
But it's just like it's the same principle somehow, no? Maybe.
Yeah, and that's a nice thing because I learned that in a I relearned it in a memory course with this. I sent you a thing yesterday or the other day. Jim Quick. He's a great memory coach, and he's teaching memory techniques. So he's helping people just remembering things with very basic childish techniques, you know, like exactly like this. Yeah. This donkey bridges is a brugge.
And I think also that what this guy taught me, it was a memory class. So it's like this, it was connected, we did connect it to language because he loves languages, but it was a memory class in general. So it's probably, it's a technique.
Nice. So you were mentioning something there. Okay, let's go to it. You're living here in Spain for how long now?
Like almost 7 years.
Almost 7 years.
I think.
Same.
Yeah. In January, it should be 7. I'm sometimes losing track of time. I don't know. Time for me is like a blob. But I think it's 7 years.
And how did you learn Spanish? Did you study on your own in a school? How did you do?
So I had Spanish when I was 17, 18 in school. And so I learned it a little bit, and I have a good memory when it comes to grammar. So I remembered still like the conjugations and like things in grammar a little bit when I came.
You have a German brain, like it's very
German,
structured. Yeah.
It's very, very productive and structured. Efficiency.
Efficient. Yeah.
Efficiency. And so when I came, I actually started to work in photo production, which my bosses were American and Spanish. And with clients, I needed to speak in English, but then with the client suppliers and everyone, and with the crew, I needed to speak in Spanish. But I didn't speak any Spanish. So I came, I started to work, and I remember my first phone call. I needed to, I think, ask something about like a car or whatever, and I was so lost. I got like sweat and heat, and I was just like, oh my god, I don't know how. And then the woman on the phone was like, no, I also speak English, so it's fine. I was like, thanks God. And then I took a course for like 3 months, but I worked so much that I didn't have time to take any course, and so I was just like, okay, I just go learning by doing. And then
learning by doing. Yeah,
and this is how I actually did it, because I needed to learn the hard way, because in photo production you kind of are in big shoots, you have walkie-talkies, and so with the crew everyone is
have walkie-talkies?
Yeah, like on a big set.
Okay.
Like it's like on a photo shoot or a film set or whatever. Yeah. You have like walkie-talkies, and so if you from far away, everyone is speaking, okay, can you bring this, can you bring that, can you do this?
Sounds very geeky.
Yeah, but it is that way. Also efficiency. And so I remember I was in Mallorca, and there I was also not speaking Spanish at all, and the whole crew speaks first of all Spanish, and then in all different kinds of accents of Argentina and South America and Spanish and all these things. And I didn't understand anything. And then I was always like trying to find, like stories of like, I was on the toilet, what did you say, to a person who spoke English, because I was just so lost. Like I didn't know anything about the job. I didn't know anything about the language. And so I was just like, it was a hardcore way of learning something and getting like thrown out of your comfort zone, like all day long for like 12 hours.
You must have been sweating nonstop.
Yeah, my nervous system was like, turned on for sure.
But when you when so when you want to speak another language and you get stuck because you feel like you know the words and you but they don't come, or it's just a high pressure important moment, maybe in a work setting or whatever, you just feel like this is important, I cannot mess this up, then it's just the sweat is just running, no?
Yeah. I mean, I tried to find like loopholes. So I was just like speaking in English with everyone, and I was, like, and this was also my tactic. So I actually, for 2 years, I was almost only speaking in English with everyone because I knew everyone can speak. And so I was a little bit, like a shy, because I'm coming from not wanting to really make mistakes. So I'm really worked hard on this
like
trait, like a like a personal trait. And so I was always trying to like do everything right, and so I wasn't speaking at all in the beginning. But through listening I learned, and then after like 2 years, like a little kid that cannot speak, at some point it starts speaking and you're like, wow, where this is coming from. This was for me the same. So I didn't speak, and then it was like coming out of my mouth, and I was like, wow, where is it? And so I was actually at some point surprised about the knowledge I have from this language, and then I could like speak better and better. Basically.
So it did you make a conscious effort to start speaking, or was it just happening?
It was just happening somehow, because then I met people who didn't speak English that well, and so I needed to at some point, like friends I met here maybe, and then I kind of needed to make an effort. If I didn't need to make an effort, I mostly just still switched to English. Because the thing is, what I always felt, like I love to share. If I connect with people, I really like to share, like myself in a deep way, and I really like having like deep conversations. And if I have the limitation of a language that I'm not speaking so well, I cannot share my entire self. And so in English I can share my entire self in a very deep way, and so that's why if the person understands English, I mostly switched. And like there is this like where sometimes you have to go the harder way and be like, okay, I have to accept that maybe I can share just 70% in order to really learn. Or so there was
how was that to accept? Because that's something that I see my students struggling with, wanting to speak Swedish. Some of them struggle with that they cannot fully express themselves. You want to express yourself the way you speak your own language or English, and that is not happening. And it's gonna take time to get there, but how do you do that? How do you tell yourself it's okay?
How do you tell yourself it's okay? I don't know. My coach always says like you interrupt a pattern by, like by interrupting the pattern. Very simple. It's
Great.
Very simple. And it is that way,
Is
like
it easy
you just have to do it in the end, like if you cannot learn,
you have to let go of something.
You have to let go of like this uncomfortable feeling, or be okay that you feel maybe uncomfortable, and maybe even share it with the other person so you don't feel that uncomfortable anymore. Oftentimes when I would say now, oh my God, I'm so like I'm very nervous maybe to sit here, but I would say from the beginning, I am nervous. Then I'm less nervous because it's out. Instead of keeping it for myself. Oh my God, I feel so nervous.
That's something I just learned recently. That acknowledging the negative, let's say negative emotions that you feel right now, just acknowledging them and saying them. I would be afraid that if you say that, then then you embody that, then you're in that, I'm afraid, I'm nervous. Now just say it, and it's like, whew. And I say it like a few times even, like I'm nervous. Like, did you hear somebody else comes into the room. I go to the class now, to the workshop, and I was speaking with one student that came in. I was like, I'm really nervous about this because I didn't do this with an actor before. I just did it with a coach, with a teacher. And she's like, yeah, no, it's totally normal. And then the teacher came in and was like, how are you doing? Like, I'm good. You're no, actually, I'm really nervous. I'm really nervous. But it's okay, right? She's like, yeah, that's what we're gonna work on now. So, like, perfect.
Yeah, it's something that is
shake
like is out, no? For me, it's also like things, writing down things. It's kind of like you don't give it so much mental power, because if you keep it in your mind, you're kind of holding on. You want to hide it, you know. It's something that you want to hide. So it's kind of like reinforcing, and you give it more matter and more power. This is how I feel it. But if you just let it out, it's something you can just let go, because now it's there. But now you don't have to reinforce or hide or whatever. So it's just like, okay. And then you can concentrate on something else. Whereas before it's like, no?
See, that's interesting, because, you know, even now when you're saying this, my old self, even though I know now that I can do this, say this, I still feel like, but you know, you just by saying it, you give power to that. That's the fear that I was dealing with, and I think a lot of people are dealing with, that you don't want to acknowledge that, you know. But yes, it's funny. It's you feel nervous. You feel like that thing is there for a moment, but then as you go to the next moment, the next step, like you start the class, for example, the sort of, then everybody in the room knows it's okay, right? So yeah, it kind of evaporates.
And
at least a bit, no?
Yeah, totally. And also then on another hand, you can also like try to put it, you know, like in a different light. Like either you can see nervousness as something, it's not negative, it's like something that is actually a good feeling, because it says that you care about it, no? Like if I wouldn't feel nervous, I would be just like, okay, what am I doing here, you know, like whatever. Right. But because you're nervous, you're like, I care about this. So it's nothing actually that is a bad, if we want to put things in good and bad.
Yeah.
A bad feeling.
Yeah, it's like, you know, when people walk their dog, the dog sees another dog. It's on the leash. And the dog wants to run to the other dog. Then it's on the leash, it gets pulled. And then it starts barking like, right?
Yeah.
Before I thought, okay, that's an aggressive dog. Okay, most dogs are aggressive because they react like this. And then I learned, I don't know if this is completely true or not, but you know that it's the being afraid or nervous in a negative way, and being nervous and in a positive, like happy, excited, nervous, is they're very close. So first it was excited, but then, you know, the dog owner pulled it back in some sort of fear of, you know, that they're gonna jump on each other, and maybe the other dog doesn't want that, maybe the other owner doesn't want that, maybe they're afraid that they're gonna start, you know, biting, and then they go into like teeth and everything, right? And you see normally a dog who's not on the lead, chihuahuas, you know, when you hold them, they're super aggressive, and then you let them go and they're like they get really scared, but the old owner holds them, they get really tough again, and aggressive, right? Nervous. Yeah, maybe there's something
and you know, like if you just like connect this as your insight, that your ego is the owner, and you know, like, and you just have like, actually the nervousness is the dog and it's just excited, but you put like negativity on it with your ego, like the owner is like pulling back. That's like where it starts to be uncomfortable. Like, I don't know, that just came now to my mind as like a...
Oh wow, yeah, that's crazy, huh? So how do you feel about your Spanish now?
I actually I would say I am still more speaking English than Spanish, but I feel comfortable. Like I have a good Spanish, and I'm like, I can have a conversation, and I'm easy to talk, but still, and that's what I feel in general in languages. What I observe for myself is that we all have, you know, like a little bit of a different character that we, you know, or like different how we express ourselves through the language that we're speaking. I feel like
Do you have a Spanish personality?
Yeah, I have a Spanish personality.
Is it more like
I did not find out yet my
fiery?
Spanish personality. I don't know, you know, like I still, but in English or German, I feel like very different. For me, for instance, German has always more like this heavier sense for me. Like even though it's my own mother tongue language, I had like a time where I didn't feel really comfortable speaking German. It's
I
very
understand
weird.
that. It's an uncomfortable language. I had German in
Yes.
school. It was always very...
It's very
No.
productive, you know, like I don't know, it has this like heavier. I remember I needed to do translations also in my past job, and it feels like English feels so much lighter. And so for me, like expressing myself in English has been I don't know, I just like it more because of that lightness.
Does it have anything to do with Hollywood and like... Did you learn... Yeah, how did you learn English, by the way?
I learned English, I learned English in school, of course, like I think, I don't know, 11, 12, but I wasn't really, I wasn't bad, but I also wasn't good. I never put really a lot of effort. In school, I was someone who was good, but I was not like a hard learner in that sense. Everything was like quite middle and easy, and so I got through in a good way, but I wasn't hard studying language or, you know, like vocabulary or whatever. So when I went to Australia when I was 18, traveling for a year, I did like backpacking. I wasn't actually really good. And my friend
Did
who
you
I
have a
was
German
with,
accent?
yeah, possibly, very possibly.
German accent.
And yeah, and so
You don't have much of that now.
my friend also was very bad, and then we met a German girl on the plane when we were like going to Australia actually, and she was amazing in English, and so we coupled up with her, and she needed to do all the calls for us, and you know, like all the time. And then after a month she left, so we kind of like went different ways, and then we had to learn. And then we were traveling with English guys and like 12 different guys, and so there it was just like learning the hardcore way, kind of,
Just
with
talking.
like also, yeah, they were like from Britain, and they were also accents. I remember a guy, not even the English guys could understand, because he has an accent that no one, it wasn't even English, I think. I don't know, it was like a secret language that he spoke.
I struggle with the English accents sometimes. It's and also the jargon, like the way they talk. It's much more of a mystery. You know, is it the question or is it an answer or what is it?
I really like the British accent. Actually.
I love it.
Yeah, it's
I
really,
love it. It's fun.
Yeah, it's really fun.
But it's not American. American is like just straight to the point, easy. You know, I love both American English and British English, but British English does intimidate me from time to time. Do you feel that sometimes?
Because of the way that you don't understand? Because you said that
Yeah,
before?
sometimes I don't understand some words maybe, or the way they talk. It's just, huh? I didn't follow. And I'm like, and I think it makes me nervous, especially since I consider my English being, you know, okay, good enough. But yeah, on those times I was working in an office with a bunch of English speaking, like British English, and it was times I'm like, yeah, of course I understand. Like, I had to ask somebody afterwards, what did he say? Can you translate? But have you ever had that with British English?
Yeah, I mean, when I was traveling in Australia, for sure, all the time, because I didn't understand. And now, I got used to like a lot of accents. Also, my English got way better than when I came here because my boss was American, and then we had clients from London, from everywhere, from the US. And so for me, then it was also, I needed to really learn to write really, like eloquent emails where you have like budgets and where you really need to like present yourself in a different way. So there it was like another level that I got in my English, because before I came to Barcelona, my English was still okay, but I was back in Germany, so I didn't speak much. And then when I came here, it was like learning like another level of of expressing myself in a different way. And now I even think in English, I write in English. Like I don't write in my own, like in German. I read every book in English. So for me, I feel, as I said, because also my transformation journey, like when it started, was everything in English. So I feel like a part of my new version of myself that I found, like back again, was in English. And so I connect, that's also like I connect with this on, in English and not in German. It's interesting.
You just said transformational journey, didn't you? Yeah. What's that about?
What's that about?
What kind of transformational journey? And maybe this is also time when you can tell us, like, what are you doing?
What am I
What are you
doing?
up to? What are you doing?
Yeah, okay, so my journey started, where do I start? What am I doing is I'm an Ayurvedic chef and coach. And this is also basically a big part of my transformation journey, because as I said, I was working in photo production, which was quite high level of stress. It was a super cool job and it's a lot of fun, but also it can be very toxic and very stressful. And then
so you needed to detox.
Yeah, and I also had
food.
like a long time of, how we all did, no? Like parts of our life where we kind of want to just suppress things with party and alcohol and drugs, and we don't want to deal with the things that actually are within. And so
you mean that you want to suppress things by doing other things like partying
exactly.
and so on.
So
okay.
for me it was
to
like
distract yourself.
So for me it was like I started drinking when I was 12, for instance, and I remember
when
like
you
my
were 12?
when my parents divorced when I was 11, and
you got depressed as a child. You like got to the bottle and
yeah, I was like, fuck, I cannot deal with
cork
this.
it up.
Fuck this.
Bring me the whiskey.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, something like that. No, it wasn't like this,
German
but it was it was an escape. I was also in a not a good circle when I was like 12, 13 in like a friends group of like very, if I think about it, like very weird and dark circle, because I had I had issues with, like family issues with how, and didn't deal with them in the right way. And so for me it was like, okay, I just drink and I forget, and it's kind of something that I hated. My dad is not an alcoholic, but he could also overdrink sometimes when I was younger, that he I was very embarrassed sometimes by him, the way he behaved in certain ways. And so actually I hated drunk people because I felt very embarrassed.
Yeah.
But then I did the same, and I went the same path. And I was like always the most drunk. I was always losing my stuff. I was always, I don't know, I was always like over the top with drinking. And then at 25, I also started to take party drugs, which took the same way. And so I was always very responsible in the sense of, working hard. I started working when I was 14. So my parents would never see that there is a problem because I was good in school. I was working hard. I took care of my body, it was healthy you know, like
you're eating healthy, training,
and then on the weekend, like just going nuts, yeah. And working during the week. So I kind of fucked up my body with that. And then, yeah, when I came here, I started to work in photo production. I was in a long relationship. And then at some point, everything was kind of like the whole, you know, like house was just like falling apart. And I could just sense that I am not happy the way I live with everything. And it was coming from the inside because I didn't like myself. I felt alone. You know, like there were like a lot of emotional patterns that I have not dealt with. And they started to come up so heavily that it was really like I had digestive issues. I had sleep issues. Mentally, I also wasn't feeling very well. And so
even though you were training and working hard and eating well,
I mean, what means today I understand that eating well, you know, like it was like binge eating. I also had like problems with like, I did overeating a lot and yeah, emotional eating. So it was like the surface was healthy, you know, like it was like this healthy, like I eat salad or whatever, but also
you were
today,
Instagrammable?
No, I don't think so. Like,
okay.
No. But so, yeah, like it was kind of something that, was more on the surface level, but I didn't understand, you know, like what is healthy for me. And so when I got into, then I went to a yoga retreat actually, which was, I was invited by someone that I met on a shoot because I was like, I need something where I can just rest, change my life, like something that happens in my life because I cannot move on like this. And that gives me some answers also how I'm going to go further with my relationship and everything. And so I went to this yoga retreat, and it was an Ashtanga yoga retreat, but actually was very deep work. Like we were having homeworks, like working on our fears. I read like spiritual books. There was like one spiritual book is called The Four Agreements, which opened up a lot of different things, you know, like views of how I'm dealing with my life. And it was just like slapping in my face, like everything. And then she mentioned Ayurveda very briefly, actually, just in this retreat. But it's somehow, and that I believe, you know, like if something is really like calling us, it sticks with you. And so it sticked with me. And when I went home, I was like reading on the internet about Ayurveda, and then I was like, wow, for me it was like an explosion in my mind, and also feeling like in my soul, because I was like something that I felt just very connected and something that made sense to me for the first time. In
Ayurveda.
Yeah. And then I went to a doctor after, because I said I felt bad, like digestive issues, and I tried everything. Like I did like intolerance tests and whatever I did, and nothing helped me. And then this doctor was the first time asking me questions. How do I sleep? How do I feel, you know, like emotionally? What am I going to do my day? How do I poop?
I was just gonna ask you about that.
He asked me how's my poop, what I also ask people when I work with them. And how's my menstruation, and you know, like all these kind of things. And so I was like, wow, you know, this is something very different. And
this sounds holistic.
Yeah, and through that, this holistic path for me opened in order to kind of deal with my things in a different way. And just ending the story, like I then had half a year of applying this to my life, and things really started to change. And then I went to Germany again to visit some old friends, and we went out, and I didn't want to, you know, like go party hard, but I did in the end. And
you didn't want to, but you did.
But I did. And we took drugs, and we, you know, like the whole thing. And so next day I remember
the whole shebang.
And the next day I'm sitting in bed with them. I have a joint, I have a pizza.
Sounds great.
Yeah, now yes, because it's like you can control it, but back then it was just like too much, you know, like it was just like
you
everything.
felt it,
And in that moment, I was like, fuck, I don't want to live my life like this anymore. You know, like I felt like a slave of my environment because it's just like pulling me from like all the desires I had, and I could not control it. And so in that moment, I decided to study Ayurveda. And it was first like for myself because I really wanted to change my life within. Yeah. And then also because I really believe that maybe this is also a path where I can, you know, like show others to apply this to their life.
How old were you at this time?
How old? One is like 30.
Okay, so it was a few
like
years
4
ago.
years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah, like 30. Yeah.
Okay. And how was the pizza and the joints? Is my question.
If I don't.
So you must have had conflicting feelings.
Yeah, of course. Like I had, because the thing was that I felt somehow addicted to everything, like to eating too much. You know, like I couldn't control.
Were you upset with yourself for this?
Yes, I was upset with myself because it was like what I understand today is more that, and what we all do a lot, no? We use food or any drug or anything to like to compensate something, even it can be clothes or whatever, to be more. And there's like somehow, I mean, you know, like there's a lot of psychology, of course, how you can explain this, but in an easy way, it's kind of a lot of people either, if you don't feel enough, you want to put more inside yourself to feel more. And so you either do a lot of sports, you know, like you go training, you put more food in yourself, so you feel more, you need more clothes, you need more this. Or you're a person, there are people who are very thin and they cannot put weight on, and they don't trust themselves, you know, like to do anything. So this is why there's nothing sticking on their body. Okay. So it's kind of like this.
Wow.
And this is kind of like what I understood, that there was no self-love in me, and this is why I always need to fill myself with things to make myself feel better. And so food actually got my medicine. And when like there was the lockdown at some point when I was studying, and then I was by myself, and I really took the time to, I didn't watch any movies. I was just reading, you know, like spiritual books. I was meditating. I did yoga, and I had like online studies. So it was like I really dived in, and I applied everything to my life all the time. And I really experimented with all the spices. And I always loved cooking. And somehow I recently remembered also that my granddad cooked in the past. So it's somehow like, and I was really connected to him.
Yeah.
And so cooking came into my life, and so through Ayurveda I could, you know, because I said I was overeating a lot, and it was a very long path to, and you know, like I think like even emotional patterns, they stick somehow. So I'm not saying like I never have them, but now I know that they're there, and I know how to deal with them, and yeah, and so it was a beautiful healing path through getting more around conscious eating, and the path of overeating and stuffing myself with foods because I'm not feeling enough. It's
a disgusting feeling, isn't it? When you're stuffing yourself.
Yes, it is.
I remember I did that too. Like many of the things you talk about now, I've done maybe not in the same. I didn't start drinking when I was 12. I was 13.
Are you judging?
No,
I didn't start.
I was a teenager when I started. I was 13.
Yeah. Just 1 year older. Yeah.
But no, it was not really drinking. I didn't start drinking. I tried it for the first time. I think I started drinking when I was 15. I stole my brother's driver's license's ID, and I started to go out to clubs even, you know. I was 21 with his card. So I started to go out there. And then coming from a place, my mom's kitchen, where there's always a lot of delicious stuff. And of all my siblings, I was the one that became, you know, mama's boy in that sense, like staying in the kitchen because she was always in the kitchen. And yeah, I enjoyed, you know, helping her out, like cleaning up the the chocolate spoons and stuff, you know. Yeah, but then I started to also overeat, like, you know, this binge eating. Ugh, I was so disgusted with myself when I did that. And then I found out that, I can train to compensate. But it was like a punishment training, you know. I went out, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. But going out and just going to run for 2 hours, go to the gym and lift like crazy. And you would never know from the way I looked. I was looking like, you know, somebody who's working out a bit. So, but on the inside I felt disgusting. So I could feel, I was trying to do these, when I was 18, I mean, it was like, 15 years ago, all these fitness trends were becoming really big. You know, eat 6 meals a day, 7 meals a day, every 2 hours, 3 hours, otherwise you will start losing muscle. So that thought, as an 18-year-old, you want to build muscle, and then it was said, if you drink one weekend, you lose 1 week of work, 1 week of gym work. So it was a lot of these weird voices, you know, demons telling you, don't do this, don't do that, you know. And it was extreme. Everything was extreme. So at that time also, before I figured, I believe this trend that, you know, fat is making you fat. And cholesterol is bad. And natural stuff is bad. You should go for, you know, low fat products and high fiber and carbs and blah 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 blah. And so it was very easy to get into this, you know, I'm gonna have something with carbs rather than fat. So I was looking for like digestive cookies and stuff, you know, like bullshit excuses to buy whatever stuff. And then I would keep myself on a salad without any oil, without anything that would satiate you, you know, nothing that would make you feel full and happy. Just the green leaves and maybe a tomato. And then, you know, doing that for 1-2 days. Of course, what happens? You get insane hunger rage. Go down to the shop, buy a full bag of the most disgusting plastic muffins and chocolates and cookies and, you know, a lot of, you know, really, really like the lowest quality, just quantity cookies and cakes and stuff like that. And going into my room, just stuffing myself with it. And feeling disgusting, you know. And then going out, running, want to cry. I'm like, terrible feeling. And that stayed for some time until I figured out, I found the warrior diet. I found this thing called warrior diet, which this was before intermittent fasting and paleo diet became a thing, and it has a bit of both. So the warrior diet, this guy Uri Hofmeckler or whatever he's called,
Is he Swedish?
No, I think he's Israeli, American Israeli or something like that. So he talks about the Roman warriors, how they were living, you know, that they would wake up in the morning, they would march or work or practice and train or build and construct and or do something, like a lot of work. And they would eat cold food or veggies or like whatever snacks in the daytime, like, but they wouldn't have a sit down meal. They would focus on, you know, moving. And then maybe they would have like some leftovers from yesterday or whatever. But then in the evening, when the day's work is over, they would have a big feast. And I was like, this is probably bullshit that they would have that every night. Or maybe not. Maybe they actually did have a feast every night. You know, like a roasted lamb and a lot of food and wine until they, you know. And he would say, yeah, they also drank wine all day. Like they would drink because, yeah, that's what they did. Which was a trap to read that when you're 22-year-old, because then I'm like, okay, I can drink wine all day. Terrible. I didn't start doing that until way later though. That was a short period. But yeah, so I tried this thing, the warrior diet. You know, a salad during daytime and then having a big meal after work, because I was working with sales, 100% commission, no fixed salary. You could take a long break, you could take a short break for lunch. If I took the break that the other guys did, 1 hour sitting down in the restaurant and eating like, you know, a big plate of potato and meat and all the stuff. And this was Swedish lunch restaurant, so there's, you know, you can take extra bean salad and stuff. So I was just like, let's make this worth, you know, fill up the plate. My colleague, my boss, bodybuilder, so he would take massive plates. He could do that. He could be super efficient and work very hard afterwards. I was just falling asleep with the carbs, I figured. So taking out the carbs from the lunch, having a salad with maybe protein and fat, and then having a big dinner, two portions of big dinner. I was like, whoa, my energy was just flying, you know, during work, during daytime. I had energy to work out afterwards, and then I could eat as much as I wanted, and I went to sleep with my belly full.
How did you sleep?
Amazing. Happy. Wake up in the morning, it's like nothing bothering me. And I mean, it took time to get used to it also, but the body got used to it, and that's pretty much how I've been doing it for the last, you know, more than 10 years.
Okay, wow.
And it's great. I'm feeling very happy with this way.
Okay. I mean, because like for me, for instance, I have a different understanding, like through Ayurveda, like the way to do it. But for me, I also say, you know, everyone needs to feel great in themselves. So if
that's the number one thing with the eating.
Exactly.
I feel what makes you feel good, you know. Try out different diets, ways, things, and maybe this works for half a year, whatever, a month, and then you can feel like, oh, your body craves for something else, and you feel that craving or that you need this or you want that, and then you change it up.
For me, it's like, this is the beauty what Ayurveda does, because I'm a fan. I mean, you can, of course, you know, like combine different diets, because that's also somehow connected to the way to maybe make it personalized. But these generic diets that we're following today, I think it's not very healthy for us, because we feel like we are all the same, but we are not all the same. Not like we are functioning in a different way. And then it's kind of understanding yourself on an elemental basis, where you're coming from and what you need in order of food, and also the way you prepare your food, or you know, like also that it's not what we eat, and this is what we learn in the Western world, that we are what we eat, but we are not what we eat, we are what we digest. And if your digestion is not healthy and not strong, and this is what Ayurveda is looking into the most, you have to have an Agni, which is the fire, our digestive fire. It's also connected to our confidence and power. If that is low, and there also the poop comes into connection, and you know, like bloating, and there are like many different signs and symptoms where a doctor cannot help you, and this can be going into many different directions. It's like you either, you know, have dry skin, constipation, you have anxiety, you have insomnia. Then maybe a person like that has a lot of air element in themselves, and if they introduce more air, which is raw food, for instance, and people who have a lot of air love raw food because they think it's healthy for them, because they want to feel even lighter. But you introduce more air, that means you're more bloated, you get more dry, you know. So it's kind of like balancing that with cooked, or you know, like warm food would be something that is more beneficial. So it's kind of like understanding more your own body, and preventing diseases, because oftentimes we think too much but we don't feel. Like when I started to work with people, it's like I let them journal every day. How did you feel before you start eating? How did you feel while you eat? You know, like and it's not even that it has to be so specific, but we don't listen. Like we don't listen, like, how does this make me feel? It's more like how I think how this makes me feel.
Right.
Because we just use our brain all the time, because I heard that this is good for me.
Right,
you know?
right.
But this
it's
is
like
not,
when people say it's good for you. Eat this, it's good for you.
Exactly.
How about I don't feel like it?
Exactly. And I had so many interviews, you know, like also this cold acai bowls, for instance. It's you know, like a lot of people have vata issues, which is like the doshas and Ayurveda.
I just have to say, but you can go on, but you have to come back to I don't know, these air and earth and all these elements and all these things. This is completely new to me. So please come back to that afterwards.
Yeah. Should I elaborate? No?
No, but yeah, but
no, it's just an
about
easy
this acai thing.
Yeah, there are it's kind of like if you have air, but if you have a lot of air element, people like also generally feel more cold. Like they have cold hands and feet, you know, like
if you have a lot of air elements.
Mostly you have like
where does that come from?
Because air is moving, and so you have
the air, like the actual air.
I mean, you can you can connect, because I mean, we in the end we are connected to nature. No, we are part of nature, and I think that we are so disconnected from it, and that we are not part of it, like an animal. Why do we think that? Just because we live in cities, like just, you know, like this is this is a dream that was put on us, but we are part of it, and if we actually go to nature, we feel that we are part of it. And so through these cycles that we are in, also the seasons, you know, like nature is giving us throughout the seasons different foods that balance us.
Yeah, okay.
And so their elements are rising. In the summer, it's the fire element. In the fall, it's the air element. And in the winter. Okay. And then in the spring is more the water element, because, you know, like plants are growing again. And so
you mean the food is filled with these elements, sort of? Or
it's kind of like we are, like, if we have too much,
or we in general,
we are affected by air, you know, like when fall is rising in Germany and maybe in Sweden, you can feel it even more, that the wind is more blowing, you know, like it's and the leaves are falling. So air and like the whole environment is way more dry, and so we get affected by this air that is always moving and is drying out. So what we can do is, like, nature is giving us, for instance, like nourishing vegetables and fruits that balance us and ground us, because otherwise we would get too airy maybe in our mind.
We would float like a leaf.
We would just float like a leaf in the air and just blow away.
So you need to eat apples to be heavy, or what?
No, apples are actually more airy, because if you bite in an apple, there is a sound, and that sound is air and space element. So anything that has a sound and is raw actually has a lot of space and air.
Like a carrot.
Like a carrot. But if you cook the carrot, you change it, because you transform it with a fire. It doesn't snap anymore. It doesn't snap anymore. And so you transform it with the fire element, and so it gets more water if you cook it in water, you know? So you kind of can... Okay. That's why I love the cooking part connected to Ayurveda so much, because you can really transform one food that maybe has this element more, you know, like let's say an apple has more air and space element, and you're like, but I love apples.
So air, did you say it has more air and space?
And space, yeah.
So space is what? Vacuum?
Yeah, it's like where everything is happening, you know, like there needs to be space. In Chinese medicine, they don't have this element, I think. But it's like in Ayurveda, it's kind of just like the element where...
Is it ether?
It's ether.
Oh, okay. Then I know. I don't know, but I heard of it.
Yeah, it's ether. Okay. Exactly.
It's the space in between things.
Exactly. Okay. And so this is what I just wanted to say, why I love cooking so much in that sense connected to Ayurveda, because you can transform foods in the way that they are then good for you, you know, like maybe a raw apple is for a person that has a lot of gas, that has a lot of constipation, that has a lot of anxiety, wouldn't be so beneficial, because it would bring more imbalance, because it introduces more of this element that they have already too much of. And so you would cook it in, you know, like in a pot with some spices that are heating and grounding, and then you can transform this food so it's actually good for you.
Okay. Wow, it sounds like a whole science.
It's a whole science.
It is. And it's like an ancient science.
It's an ancient science. Yeah, it's like 5,000 years old. And then it was through, different scriptures, it was like given to, to the next, basically. And then when the British came to India, it was suppressed because they brought their doctors, and then they kind of needed to, even if it was in medicine already, they needed to, do it underground. And so this was kind of why also Ayurveda wasn't as developed as, you know, like a medicine in that sense, like our Western medicine. There was, because they had a very long time where they could not really practice it.
Damn Brits.
And so and today it's just coming more and more popular again, because what I feel like we are yearning for connection with ourselves, no? Like everyone is kind of like not everyone, but there are a lot of people who are going on the quest of, hey, what is actually good for me? Like I want to learn, you know, like to listen. And we are also ever-changing beings, so it's not a generic diet. It's like understanding yourself on a deeper level, and then you can understand yourself through the whole life. As women, we change even in our female cycle all the time, no? So I have seasons that I'm living from the outside, but then I have my own seasons also, like throughout. So, you know, like understanding that, and then also applying this with your diet, the way you eat throughout the whole month. So they're like different ways to understand that. And of course it takes some time to understand in the first place, but if you then got it and you really understand, it can truly help you to transform many parts, and just give you more connection. And for me, what I feel, because I mentioned before that I felt like a slave, you know, before, like when I had all my desires, when I was like always going after overeating and whatever, I felt like
that's what I had. Like that's what I want to say, you know, this warrior diet finally gave me freedom from this obsessive idea that I need to eat all the time. I got over the hunger. I got over this, like that the hunger is controlling me, and with time I was starting to feel okay with being hungry. Is this, do you feel it's another control, you know, like is it another control? I think my first addiction is food. It was like my first, you know, overindulging in something, and then it went from that, you know, from food to sweet stuff, from sweet stuff to alcohol, and then to sex, and then to you know, drugs, and then to Jiujitsu. But they were things were coexisting, you know, at times. But the alcohol pushed out the hunger as well, quite. But then I was like, you know, no addiction to food since that thing, which just felt amazing, you know, to be free from that. I mean, for me, it's more of that I got out of this like feeling like a slave, because I was listening and understanding, and that makes me more feel like the master, you know, instead of, I don't know, I could, like an example, for instance, people who have, because before I was talking about air, now I can talk about fire. People who have too much fire, is like either you could have
I don't know, you have a day where you're like throwing up like out of the blue, you know, and people are like, I ate this yesterday or whatever, and they push it onto something. But oftentimes my body also gives me a lot of signs of too much fire, that I don't know, like I get weird skin issues that start to come up, or I need to throw up, because that's a sign that your body is like, no, you know, like you put too much of stress, maybe can be fire, then obsession of one thing or the other mentally, then too much heating things, which could be alcohol, kimchi, you know, like chili, like spicy things in that sense, and then maybe also like red meat. And so if you like overdo something and you go, for instance, then also in the sun in the summer, and you would then throw up, most of the people are like, I ate this yesterday, that's why this is happening. But you know, like now I understand the science of my body, and I can then reflect and be like, you know what, I was just like 2 hours sitting in the sun, I drank this, and then this was like, maybe I had a kimchi or whatever, and it was like the peak of the iceberg, you know, like, and now it's like, for me, what I know, what I have then to eat and do cooling things, like it's first, like you can do it in a meditative way, connecting more with yourself, or you go into nature, which also, you know, like grounding yourself, or you eat cooling things like what,
like ice cold
coconut
acai.
Water, and ice cold acai, maybe.
Brain freeze.
Brain freeze, that maybe not, but like cooling herbs, you know, like there are different kinds of herbs that you can introduce, spices, and foods like cucumber or whatever, like different things. So you still hear me?
Yeah, I just don't want the microphone to block your face.
Okay.
For the few people who are watching this.
Okay. Yeah. And so yeah, that's more what I feel, because it's for me understanding my body in a different way, let's say that.
So did you start that with I can imagine you don't need to journal now to backtrack from something made you feel something, okay, and then you go back, what happened, so you go you go back, like, okay, when did I start feeling this, pretty much, okay, what happened around that time, and you go back like that, or how do you do?
Yeah, mostly I do this when I have like something that is very severe. Like now, of course, I have been working on like my own body quite a lot. So I feel in general, I don't have this, I don't know, like bloated a lot anymore, or, you know, like in the past, a lot of gases, which I sense like very rarely. And I don't really eat, like sometimes I do, but like a lot of salads or raw things. But also that's the thing. You can, if you have a strong digestion. That's what I said before. We are just, most of the people don't have a strong digestion. So it's kind of like when I started to work with people, it's like working on their digestion and increasing their digestive fire, and detoxing, maybe, depending, you know, like on the person. It really much depends on the person, but like, so you can digest better, because that's the first thing that people often feel like, what you said before, no? You feel like super tired in midday, and you can fall asleep after eating. Of course, if you overeat, but in general, if you have a normal amount of food, that should not be happening. So there is the question of like, you know, is the digestive fire that you had back then, was it strong enough, or was it maybe also not?
Well, I actually checked on human design, my human design, and it said that I have indirect light digestive system.
Light, okay.
Indirect light. So it says
what does it mean?
That I best digest food after the sun has gone down. Okay. When it's dark. And I don't know, but I like that.
It just works confirms, for me.
Yeah,
I mean, it's in the sense, it's like if you feel good with it, that's what I mean. It's just like also human design, you know, like everything is kind of a concept. Also Ayurveda. I don't like to be like super rigid with these things.
You want to make me your client or what?
No. But you know, like that you're too rigid with these things and you're like, this is me. It's more like, okay, understanding
I'm not
ourselves.
I mean, I'm
But
not super strict with it. I mean, you know, people are like, oh, do you not eat all day? I normally start my day with a chocolate croissant with my coffee. But I also measure, does it give me gas? Does it make me feel weird? Yesterday I had 2 little ice creams, you know, in the evening, and my stomach was in pain afterwards. Okay. It was a shitty brand.
No.
I should have gotten a better brand. That's the problem.
That's like these things that we tell ourselves, no? I should have just gone with another brand.
Really, like, it depends. Okay, so I have lactose intolerance, and so... but I would measure, okay, now I know that brand, I will not do it again. Or maybe I'll only have one. But I would always, I'm very conscious about how do I feel after my food. This is super important for me because it's something that was bothering me in the past, you know. So that was my mission. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. Food is not gonna bother me anymore, you know. So yeah, I'm feeling out, but the main idea is still there. But how do you work? I wanted to ask you, how do you work with your students or clients with this now? Yeah. So before we get into the jiu-jitsu,
I have so I work with clients normally on a long-term basis, because what I feel is that it's basically changing habits. So I'm changing habits with people, and it's kind of like through food and also through other habits. Like it's sleeping. I go holistically into every area of their life, because also, you know, like going to sleep early, because that also is depending on how your digestive system is, and because we're detoxing in the night at a certain point of time. And you know, so there, like, everything is kind of interconnected. And so for me, is understanding that person's imbalances, and then I'm going into their life, understanding their life and how they live their life, and see the causes, because we have causes in our life of what is like wrong with us in the moment. You know, like if I have mental issues and I have anxiety, okay, maybe I don't have boundaries. I'm like all the time on my phone. I'm eating in front of my computer. I'm sleeping at 1 o'clock in the morning. You know, like there's so many different like little things that then come together and is like this whole ball of energy that is just like pulling you in one direction. So many times, and then this manifests, if we don't do anything about it, it manifests at some point towards a disease. And so it's like Ayurveda is kind of about preventing disease and finding causes early enough, where a doctor tells you, what do you want here, you know? And there you can be like, okay, I have this, and you can kind of change little things in your daily life, which is food, which is maybe drinking too much coffee also for people, introducing certain habits and life changes in order to just balance people. And that depends very much on the person. What is the imbalance? What is the elemental makeup from that person? No, it's very individual, and that's what I love about it. It's like very individual.
So you can work with every client and individual you work with. It's a completely customized plan, or it's a journey.
It's a customized plan. Of course, there are like certain things that are more generic, but I do them also very customized. And I also do cooking courses with clients if they're abroad, and then I do that online. If they're here, I go into people's homes and cook with them, because what I feel, and we were talking about the food before, you know, like we think too much around food. Like, first of all, it's crazy. There are people in this world that don't have food, and we are thinking, you know, about that we want to eat less, that we, you know, like there's this like crazy, because we have just like we are floating in too much food. So there is this, we don't enjoy it anymore, so we control, you know, like we put too much attention all day long on food, but in the way that it's a control. And what I want to bring back, and this is what I also want to do with the conscious eating events that I want to plan more, and dinners, is really connect people to the joy of eating. I mean, food is amazing, and if we are in the moment, and if we're just like enjoying the food instead of, you know, like having in our mind, oh, why do I eat this? Why do I, should I, maybe I'm getting fat afterwards, or, you know, like our mind has so much mental power, and instead of just eating and learning also to eat healthy and create like food that is good for us at home, and then enjoying this food and being, food is our fuel, you know, like, and a lot of people like they would, I learned and always said very early already when I didn't even do Ayurveda, they put, you know, like the best petrol you want to put in your car that you just bought, but then you don't want to put the best fuel in your body. And then if you do that, you still sit on the computer and you not even enjoy it, because you think that it's time you lose. And it's just like, how much do you gain if you just like put away your computer and
But you do lose the time.
Enjoy.
You do lose the time.
No, because you're enjoying the moment. I mean, and this is what is any way to learn more, no? Like, I mean, that
you can watch TikTok while you eat your food. What's, like, why wouldn't you just stuff your brain with double the pleasure?
Why? Because you don't do anything really. Do you? You know? You're kind of like...
It's weird. I know I should... If I eat alone, I should not... I don't want to be on the screen, or, you know. But it's so... Often it happens. But that I'm on the screen, like with the phone or the computer, if I'm eating alone at home, for example. And even if you would go somewhere and eat on your own, you know, you see some people, they're eating alone in a restaurant or in a cafe or whatever, and they are with their phone. And I'm like, am I gonna be this crazy person that just looks into the ceiling, look around, look at people while I'm eating?
But you just can be with your food, you know, like it's not awkward.
Yeah, but it does feel. I mean, I have to make an effort because I get so used to it.
That's the thing, you know, like pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone, and that's like that's like the only way we grow and transform. And then it's also that we only really digest when we are in digest mode. So if you're not with your food, and that's what Ayurveda is teaching also, when you're not with your food and you're not concentrating on your food, or you run around, you know, like while eating or on your computer, and you're in a stress mode, you're in fight and flight mode, and then your digestive system is not in digest mode, because you are, you know, like not in your rest.
Just like error. Like
exactly. So for me, as also conscious eating is starting with, if I am stressed, I will take a few breaths before I start eating. I look at my food, I think, you know, I give thanks, and it's just something to take in, because then we come back in the cycle of the digestive strength. If you don't rest and you don't really digest, why do you eat in the first place? You want the nutrition and you want the fuel, and a lot of people have malabsorption because the nutrients get not really absorbed into the body, and then, you know, like it's like it's pointless. Like, where is the point then? Because our first point sometimes is pleasure, but actually it's, you know, like we want to fuel ourselves with the right nutrition.
I have this feeling, Jana, that I don't know if you can share this and explain how you do this, but I have this feeling that when you're eating food, you have like a psychedelic journey or something. I'm sure you can close your eyes and you're just like, well, yum, yum, yum.
I'm getting my eyes closed. Yeah.
I mean,
it's something that I
don't you have?
Yes, I do. Yes,
can
I do.
you maybe share how can people get there? I wanna learn that.
So I mean, it's kind of like a meditation, you know, in the sense, because I really feel my food. As I said, I come from overeating.
I'm like closing up, like open my arms up with this now.
Yeah. So I come from overeating a lot, which I said before. So for me, it was a really, really, really long journey to enjoy my food and be with it. And my first attempts were like, you know, like always putting like the fork and the knife down to kind of like chew. And you always hear like this generic chew 30 times before you swallow.
That's what I did.
Yeah. So, and of course this is right, but it's like, again, we're connected to our mind. Yes, of course you want to chew your food because that's the first step of digestion, because like the saliva is breaking down the food, and we don't want to just swallow, because then our body has to do all the work. This is why we have these things called teeth to masticate the food. And you know, like the saliva, I have a cool story. I had a client and 2 years ago or something, and I went home to her and we had this cooking, like I did a cooking course with her. So we prepared like many different things, and one dish with a lot of spices also, because as I said, like spices are medicine and they activate basically certain parts of our body. Our tongue is connected to our digestive system. So if I work with clients, I look at their tongue and then I see many different things. It's like a roadmap of our digestion. We're not doing an analyzation now, but so it's kind of like the enzymes are, if you can see it from Western or whatever, but so you activate kind of the saliva.
One question, as we're talking about the tongue, should you brush your tongue or not?
Not brush, no. You have a tongue scraper.
What's the difference between brushing it or using a scraper?
You don't want to have the bacteria that you have on your tongue in your toothbrush. Do you?
I don't know.
No, you don't, because like the bacteria, there's like, if you have, for instance, you know, like you bleed a lot here in the teeth, and there's, you know, like the bacteria can go into the blood channel. You don't want to brush your teeth with the same thing that you're cleaning your tongue.
So the bacteria on the tongue and the ones between the teeth are not the same?
No, on the tongue, the body, like in the morning, we have like a layer of toxins mostly, you know, like this. Some people have a thick white layer. Some can tell whole stories now about this. And some people have yellow.
Sorry,
and it depends. And it depends on the element and on the imbalance you have, what color it has, how much it is, where it is, and so on. And so in the morning you want to take it off, because our body is detoxing in the night. Everything like this. Why you go poop in the morning, best case scenario.
I'm in the best case scenario.
Which a lot of people don't. And so you also want to clean your tongue, because this is why we have this white layer, because our body is getting rid of something. Some people have mucus here, some, you know, like this also what we have in the morning is like it detox. Our body's detoxing, so we want to clean all our senses in the morning and get ready for the new day, basically.
Okay.
And so you'd scrape your tongue with a copper or like a silver tongue scraper. There's metal tongue scrapers.
Wow.
And it increases your digestive strength, and you kind of like, it's mouth hygiene, of course. Also, you stimulate your taste buds, you stimulate your digestion.
So all of you people who've been brushing your tongue,
don't do this.
Don't do this.
Don't do this.
Get
a tongue scraper.
Yeah. And if you don't, take a copper wire.
Yeah, copper wire. Oh my god, this hurts. You're gonna cut off your tongue.
Okay. Yeah, you were, sorry, I was interrupting you. You were telling this story about your client.
Yeah. And so it was incredible. So she had a diet more of like, I don't know, fruit and peanut butter, and, you know, like not a good, like very elaborate diet. And we were
fruit and peanut butter.
Fruit, yeah.
Sounds great.
I don't know. She didn't. Yeah. But so we were cooking, and then she sits on the other side of me, and we did like use a lot of spices and, you know, like different things. And so through sitting and through smelling the food, through looking at the food, you know, like you start, like also animals do, like we start to get saliva in our mouth. How often do you have, like you smell something and you're like, you're getting hungry, you know, like you saliva, and this is kind of your body getting ready to digest, because this is like the saliva
like
are
a
the
hot croissant,
enzymes.
like a ready, just
Exactly.
fresh made croissant.
Exactly. So the enzymes are getting ready to digest food, because that's what they break down on a chemical level. And so she sits on the other side of me, and then she puts something in her mouth, and she's like, and I look at her, I was like, what's wrong with you? And she was like, I never had so much saliva in my mouth. And it was because, you know, like the food and the different spices activate this saliva, and the more saliva basically the better, because you digest the food. So it was like, it was very funny in a way, but it was also for me like super mind-blowing in the sense, because of course I have seen it that way also, but like being with her and having this moment was like boom. And you were asking me about my ecstatic ecstatic moments when I'm eating. And so for me, it's like, I mean, you cannot feel and think at the same time. It's the same in meditation, no? If you do a body scan, you don't think, you feel. So it's the same if like you're having food in your mouth. For me, it's first like, if I get a food, I smell it, I look at it, and I'm like just so excited about food that I just get so excited that I'm like a little kid. And
so you cannot feel and think at the same time.
No, try, you know, like you can't.
But because what if I'm thinking about what I'm feeling?
That's not then you're thinking. Then you don't feel. If you truly feel, if you only truly feel, you cannot think. There's only space for one.
Oh, okay.
And so for me, it's really like this feeling.
Tasting,
yeah, and so this is why I close. And you know what? Like I felt also so stupid in the beginning, like an awkward sometimes sitting in a restaurant by myself. I'm like closing my eyes or like by myself, but I am not anymore, because for me, it's just like, it's my moment. And this is also something that is connected to self-love for me. Because it's my moment. Like, what the fuck am I thinking about other people? They can think whatever the fuck they want. I'm with me.
As you're sitting in the restaurant alone.
Yeah, I'm just like by myself, and I can enjoy the food still. And it's not, of course, I'm not like, I never am on my phone. But in general, I would say 90% I'm never. Like maybe there comes something and I look. Yeah. But I would never, I think
just to fill out the space.
The last 3 years, I have never been doing like, you know, like looking on my phone and eating like this ever. Like this is a rule for me. I'm doing this at home. I'm never in front of my computer. I don't even like to watch movies anymore and eat something really. Normally I eat first and then I watch a movie, because I'm not doing one or the other really, you know, like I'm in between both things.
I have a hard time. If I watch a movie, I don't even want somebody to talk really. Like I want to get into the movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't distract me with stuff.
Did you see this? Did you see this?
Yeah, unless it's a boring one, or I don't know. Yeah, okay. So
yeah, it's just like enjoying. For me, it's like enjoying food more, and this is like creating a connection to yourself, and also if you're with others, you're also connecting with others, not over the food. Like how often I have like dinners with my friends, and then we just like we talk about the food, and it's like, wow, this is so tasty. And I don't know, it's like humans were connecting over food for evolution long, no? Like sitting around fire, eating together. It's like something that's very like tribal, and like is something that's very innate. And
do you take your clients to sit around a fire and eat?
No, unfortunately not. I would love to.
Well, maybe next.
In the future.
Maybe next one.
Sitting around fire.
But yeah. So you want to make it more primal, the food experience, in a sense?
Yeah, maybe. Like I have, at the moment, I'm kind of playing a little bit with different ideas of how to, you know, like bring this more to the world in that sense. And so I'm trying out different concepts in either sitting truly just around the table and
I'm listening to you. I'm just like stretching my neck
and
the other
eating, or also I want to try out a concept to really connect people to their inner their inner emotional blockages or traumas even around food. So like soon I'm hosting an event where it's going, like connecting people through breath work and sound healing really with their deep self, and then going into conscious eating and, like creating a whole connection with food. So for me it's more like, I want to play and see and find, maybe even do different concepts and see either what is working best or, maybe all of them are, but in a different way for different people. So let's see. But I feel like that's conscious eating, because like it's so, we always think like it's so important what we eat, but we never think about how we eat. And I always feel, if there is a person who eats really healthy food, let's say, for them, but they are always running around, they're always stressed, they're always sitting in front of the computer, I wouldn't put it like in my hand in fire, but then having a person next to them who does not really have a good diet, let's say, maybe eats like some processed food or whatever, but they would take their time all the time and they would enjoy the food and like truly enjoy it, and they wouldn't think about that it's bad for them or whatever. I think that food is so much better, and because they also take it in another way. Our mind has so much power, and and we have such a disease around eating, and that's very, very sad because it's our fuel.
I just remember one thing I want to ask you. So, do you think that you could put your hand on the food and just feel like, if this is good for you or not? I've seen that some people claim that you can. Well, some people, I mean Sadhguru.
Yeah. I mean,
like, just put your hand on the food, it will tell you things.
Yeah, I mean, probably there are people, maybe if you are like, I don't say like this is not true or whatever. Probably if you maybe are really connected or whatever, it can happen. I don't know. Like, I don't say you can't. For sure, there's, if some people claim, and I also heard like before that your body has, like knows, for instance, like this, there's like this weird technique that you can say like, okay, should I drink, I don't know, a coffee or a matcha? Is matcha good for me? And then if it goes this like a no, you shouldn't drink a matcha, for instance. Your body tells you basically. But is this really true? I don't know. Like, it's like something, for me it's more, like there's so much placebo also. And if you feel, and this is why I also don't say like Ayurveda is the way. If, like there's Chinese medicine, and for me it's more like find what calls you and what makes you feel good, like really truly feel good, and listen to that. That is something that is amazing. And if you feel like, wow, this helps me to, like connect more to food and heal the traumas I have around food, like do it. Like, it's beautiful.
Go for it. Nice. So, okay, we talked about conscious eating, unconscious eating, what to eat, when to eat. No, we didn't really. I mean, okay, we talked about it, but the answer is it depends on the individual, what you need, right?
When to eat.
There's a whole science.
I mean, like Ayurveda, that's like very easy. Just states like normally that the biggest meal is to eat during the day, because the fire element is when the sun is out most prominent, and that also is connected to our digestive fire. So normally it's best to eat during the day, because in the night it's the time where more earth and water element is, and so the digestion is rather slow. and we also are in front of, you know, like going to sleep, and because our body and our liver is detoxing during the night, and especially in the early hours, we want to have some space between that. And so, as I said, our body is getting rid and detox. So if you always go to sleep too late, or if you always like eat too much and you don't really take time, you know, like to digest between your meal and going to bed, then it could be that you accumulate toxins in your body at some point. It's just like to have in mind. And same thing, you know, like it's always in, okay, how do you feel, and how do you sleep also. If you have sleep issues, there is, and you eat a lot before, there's most probably a connection. So yeah, it's just like having different things into account, but it's the same thing. It's like you really look at the elements, how they're rising and falling throughout the day, and we are connected. If you really live in nature, and this is what I have been doing like some time now, when I was in also working in the retreat center in the mountains, you know, like you see how, you know, like how nature is actually really like has these cycles during the day, and in the morning it's like always damp on the, you know, like on the leaves, there's always water on the leaves. So that's the same, we're connected to nature, so this happens also in our body. So we have to heat up first.
Okay.
And so eating something cold in the morning is maybe not so good, because you put more coldness in your body. Yeah. You know, like this, like acai balls, or what I said before. So
you should have hot the pepper in the morning.
Hot pepper, yeah, or like
Tabasco on your oatmeals.
Yeah, or like I don't know. I love lemon water in the morning with some ginger or turmeric.
Is that heating?
That's heating, yeah.
Is lemon on its own?
And it cleanses also your system. So it's like a hot water in general is like a good detoxer, and because it cleanses your system.
I feel that when I drink hot water and I squeeze lemon juice in it, my teeth get like funny, you know, like if it's like when you drink Coca-Cola or something, it's like I get this weird thing on the surface. It feels like the teeth, the smooth surface is not smooth anymore.
Okay. Yeah. How much lemon do you put? Is it like
a lot?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
2 lemons. Okay. Yeah.
No, I would squeeze. No. I mean, in one glass or cup, I would squeeze max 1/2.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes it can be too much, so maybe you just do a little bit less and see if it's still the same.
All right. Now we've actually done 1.5 hours already.
Okay, wow.
Time is flying, huh?
Time is flying.
I want to ask you one thing, and we don't need to go very deep in this, but if do you work with people that actually want to put on a lot of weight and muscle? You know, like an athlete that want to go up in weight and muscle, for example, but feel sick of eating more. You know, the paradox. How would you? What would you tell them? What would you say? Like,
the question is, why do you, like, of course, no, like there is sometimes you have to, but also why, like what is the goal behind it in that sense? Is it just because you want to look a certain way, or you know, like sometimes it's just like if you want to be, you can also be strong, but you don't have to put like this much weight on.
Sure.
Because like also very lean guys can be very strong if you like fuel yourself in a good way. So my question would be, where is this wish coming from? Is it from the mind that you think you have to look a certain way? Where then I would go back in the cycle of like, where is this emotion coming from, you know? And then it's like going deeper.
Okay, good. If it would be somebody who's fighting, like a jiu-jitsu player, in their categories, and you just feel that you're better when you're stronger and bigger and heavier, for example. Mostly it's the other way around, I feel, but let's say you want to go up in weight.
I mean, yeah, like it's the same thing. It kind of depends, of course, always on the person a bit, because some people have it easier to put on weight, and some people have really hard times to put on weight. this also is like, from what I said before, like from the elements, if you have your strongest element is air and ether, these people have mostly hard times to put weight on. Or fire, who burns a lot of things very fast through. And so it's kind of like looking then into the diet of, because Ayurveda is not in general like vegetarian or vegan, for instance, which yoga is, but Ayurveda is more on, you know, like what is good for you and medicinal. And so for me, it's like also very, I would go into an individualized analysis, like of what the person needs, in order to then see what kind of proteins or fats you kind of can introduce, or healthier grains, you know, in order to kind of like have like slow burning fuel, so you're like don't have to eat maybe all the time.
Okay.
But maybe it's like also then if the person, for instance, is, you know, like that's what I mean. It's like very individualized also on the digestive strength. Some people, they can eat a lot and they can digest very well, which then you have like a strong metabolism, and maybe you can have a large meal. But most people, they overeat. They are already full, but they would just like eat more and more and more. And so because I worked with an athlete, it was like short track runner, so he didn't have to be like super muscly, but still strong. We were at some point trying out, for instance, things where he just eats like 4 times a day instead of 3 times, you know, like, and having smaller meals. And so I feel like it's very individualized the way. And you kind of, it's a trial and error always, and then seeing, and this is like, comes back to the basis of listening. And this with him I did a lot, because he was overeating also, because he was thinking I need more fuel. And today he's like combining also, of course, like his nutrition understanding from his coaches with that what he has learned from me, to and to be more like connected to himself. And he tried out many different things, and so I feel it's always a little bit trial and error, and this also learning a lot of patience, because, you know, like when I started to work with people, and when I started to work with myself, it was like, I want that it's changing now, you know, like I want to be healthy in a month. Like, but maybe you have been, like for me, for instance, half of my life, I have been treating my body maybe 70% like shit, because I've been overeating, I have been introducing like not good things. My liver was like not really healthy, to be honest, and so it needs like a long time and patience and dedication, like the same in sports. No, you need to put dedication to something and patience to learn something. And this is relearning to eat. So it's like a whole thing, like, and we eat from you know, like the time we're living, so it's like relearning something just takes time. And so it's like being patient, and then and not putting too much pressure, because that's another heavy weight that we then put on top of the pressure we already had before.
That's what I feel with sometimes when I'm in when I'm able to train much more, and like I have more time, I have more, my body allows it as well, less pain in the body, then I train more, and then I get into the when I'm able to train more, I get into the thoughts of I want to compete again. And then I'm thinking, okay, I would like to be heavier again and stronger, and because I've been before, but it also costs. It costs in the sense of, okay, I need to eat more, and that works well if I don't have a job that requires mental focus, a lot of mental focus. Like I need to be super present, because I'm teaching, so I'm with students. I have to be clear. It's a one-on-one thing. So I feel like, okay, I don't know. It's a bit of a conflict. And then again, you know, if I would have maybe a coach, I would be okay. somebody who knows how to manipulate and try out different ways to change the diet from a day to day or week to week or month to month basis, then that could be helping to figure out, okay, what would be a good rhythm, a good amount, good kind and variety and so on, to be able to slowly get to that point. Maybe instead of, I feel like on my own, I want to, I've been there before. As soon as I feel good, I can get back there in like 2-3 weeks, you know? And it's possible, but it's also, it's stressful.
Yeah, but like it's also a question, like, is the limitation in your mind that you have to eat so much more in order to get stronger? Like, can you also not just, in that sense?
Yeah, but okay, so there's this strength, but it's also just, I don't know, I want to experiment. I want to see what's the difference if I have 5 more kilos of weight and muscle, because I've been that weight before. Now I'm maybe, I don't know, when I'm not training regularly, I drop in weight. When I'm training regularly, I increase weight because my appetite goes up.
Yeah, of course, but then also you still can eat, and this I had like also with my athlete friend there when we were working together, that is actually, you don't have to eat all the time just to get stronger. Like, you can really just eat when you're hungry, And this is also like, why do you have to overstuff? Yeah, your appetite increases, and then you just eat. Maybe you have 3 or 4 meals a day, depending on like how much fuel you need, and it's kind of like experimenting with that. What satisfies you, and what combination, also what you said before, no grains and or starches and meat, maybe like don't put them together because like it's easier to digest apart from each other or whatever. So this kind of things is like something to experiment with, but also seeing that, do I really have to put weight on in order to, or is this just something I'm thinking on my mind?
For sure.
So that's what I mean. So it's more like going into our patterns that we think are true. Are they really true?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing what I say, like I always say also to any client I'm having, you try out for yourself. I'm telling you something, like I give you something and say like, maybe this is good for you. And or like salad, for instance, a person is bloated, and then I say, or is bloated, and then it's either salad or the acai bowl in the morning, and I say, okay, you eat a porridge and you eat an acai bowl, and afterwards you feel how you feel, like, and it's just a way, because what I want that people listen to themselves. I'm not there all the time. It's for me, it's like, how do you feel? And this is kind of like this like, going into,
now that I'm not getting hungry anymore, and I'm training, my capacity goes up. I know I can eat more, and somehow it's not hunger per se, it's more food craving, or like want to eat, and changes also. I go from wanting to have carbs to like all of a sudden I want to have much more meat and veggies, and also my limits are, I can eat much more without feeling stuffed or that I cannot go anymore. And when I start eating, then I have this like, it's like a, it's going, like I can keep on eating a lot. I'm not hungry all day, but then as soon as it's time to eat, it's like, all right, I can just fill it up. So it's I find it a bit tricky because how do you deal with not having this hunger, leading you? It's much more of a conscious, I'm thinking, okay, I can go, I even after a very hard training, I'm not hungry. I don't feel like I must eat. It's a thought. I'm thinking I must eat because I want to maintain my weight. I don't want to lose weight. I don't want to lose, because at some point I'm also thinking, okay, if I increase if I don't eat now after such a hard training.
But how long after training, for instance?
Anytime. It can be from
Okay.
10 minutes to 5 hours.
And you're not hungry at all after training?
It's
ever?
hunger is coming, but it's like it's not bothering me. It's like, you know, it's like it's just something doing this.
But that's still like you're still hungry and you're suppressing it because you learn to control it.
I guess.
Yeah,
maybe.
But that's the thing. Like,
But
maybe you're just like not conscious.
If I go straight after training to meet friends and do something, I can completely forget about eating. And fine, you know, if you want to. But I also have this thought that if you don't eat, then your body is gonna start to consume the energy that it has. So it's the fat that it has, the muscles that it has, to start burn that as fuel.
Yeah.
And so you know that will just diminish. Do I feel strong when I'm skinny? Yes. I feel still strong, but it's a difference. You know, when I eat a lot and I do a lot of weightlifting and go to jiu-jitsu, I feel way stronger. It's a big difference. I feel like I can just like, you know, crush things in a different way. And I can do it again and again and again, whereas now I'm just conserving it to the moment.
Yeah.
Like I'm like a skinny crocodile who hasn't eaten for a year. I'm like waiting, and then like.
But that's more like my question there is, you know, like, do you feel you're maybe controlling, like, because you learn to control,
I'm sure that is.
And then you suppress your hunger, you know, like, and then and then at some point you get so hungry that you're
no,
like,
that doesn't happen.
and then you don't eat at all.
When I was doing the 4-day fast, I didn't get hungry. It was just more out of, I was just craving things out of craving. And when I wanted to start eating again, I was not even hungry. I was just, it was just like, but I'm supposed, you know, the body is supposed to have fuel in it.
No, but I mean, if you water fast, at some point your body is not.
It was coffee, it was tea, it was 2 Red Bulls, sugar-free Red Bulls.
Oh my god!
Because I'm teaching. Because I'm teaching, so I was afraid that I would have a crash.
But you don't.
Yeah, but there was the first day and the second day, and then the third and the fourth day I didn't have that. No, but it was like, okay, I'm not gonna have calories.
Yeah.
Next time I'll try to take it even, you know, even without the coffee, I will try. Yeah. Let's see about that.
Because in the end, like, it's also not about, you know, like, it's the next thing, like, about calories. And in the end, whatever fast you do is more about cleaning your body. And
no, for me it was not that. Okay. It was just like, I'm gonna not eat.
But why?
There are different kinds of fasting.
Yeah, I know, but like for what you know, like,
I just want to prove myself that I could fast for 4 days.
Okay, but that's from the mind. That's what I mean. Like, it's just a question.
I mean, I think, you know, some people do juice fast, some people do water fast, some people do, you know, the Ramadan fast. I think they're all, you know, relieving the digestive system to not be constantly working. Exactly. I had 2 sugar-free Red Bulls on the first and the second day, but I was also training, and I'm sure that was speeding up, you know, getting rid of things, and it was not like I'm gonna make this as hard as I can. It was like, I'm gonna try out to do a long one, and what's important in this one is that I don't eat anything, and I can do my work, and that I was afraid that I was gonna have a crash during work. That was my fear. So I allowed myself to have caffeine and chemicals. I ate my toothpaste. I swallowed. No, I didn't.
Like, in the bathroom, like.
By the way, I hear that it can be, if you have acid reflux, you know, swallowing some toothpaste it's helping to depress that.
Yeah, it's like it's a symptom suppressor. Like when you go to the doctor who gives you medicine, so it's the
Great
same.
Stuff.
Yeah, that's my philosophy for sure. Eat toothpaste.
I hear we can talk about food and eating and like all this stuff forever and ever. Before we change to jiu-jitsu, shall we mention that we what we're might do next week? We're planning to do next week.
What we might do next week?
5 days, 4 or 5 days.
Okay. I was like, what are we going to do? Yeah. Like, of course.
The fast.
The fast.
Okay.
The fast. The water fast.
So maybe we could do something after in another, I don't know, podcast.
Yeah, that would
and
be
talk
fun.
about how it was,
Talk
how it
about-
felt, and,
yeah,
and so on.
That would
And
be
we
great.
can dig deeper into the food and the detox and
Yeah.
all of these things.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you have much more to say about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can probably feel like.
I see that you have but why did you why no, my dear, it's like no.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
let's talk about jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Okay, so you have been training for a while, right?
I mean, yeah. Like
A little bit.
I'm quite new.
You're
but
quite
still,
new
Yeah.
to jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
And you, I understand that you like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm new but on fire.
That's how you feel about it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's like after we rolled the first time, I saw in your eyes you had this crazy eyes, like that you were high on drugs, you know. Like, that was a great roll.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, here's somebody passionate about this. Nice.
Yeah.
So you got into jiu-jitsu as a girl. There are not many girls in our academy, at least.
No, at least.
Mostly guys. For me, I have this idea. I think everybody in the world should do jiu-jitsu because it's done so much for me. It's done so much for me, like emotionally, personally, confident-wise, and also I was intimidated. I could be intimidated by men, by guys, and I think it's a normal thing for most people. I guess, I don't know. I come from a background where there has been violence, you know, from guys. Like, I grew up in a very violent area in Sweden, one of the, you know, gangster neighborhoods or ghetto neighborhoods, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So violence was a daily, you know, food for me. I was staying away from it because I didn't like violence. I was afraid to fight. I was always I was thinking about worst case scenarios. But what if your head falls to the ground and you like smash it and you know, I was thinking like that. Whereas my friends around and people, you know, and my brothers, they were ending up in fights quite a lot. And yeah, so I had that a lot around me, and I felt I didn't feel like that was an issue, or that's why I wanted to do jiu-jitsu. Maybe I don't know. I have to think about why I want to do it. But anyways, my friend convinced me to start doing that. What happened was that I lost. Step by step, I started to lose this intimidation of guys, for example, and all of the other benefits, you know, confidence, and also you know, learn the discipline of just going to do something, showing up. You don't have to do any homework like that. You just have to show up, and you can do your homework like in anything. And I think this is a great metaphor for learning a language or anything else. Even if you haven't done your homework, you can just show up and say, I haven't done my homework, can we work on it right now? And in jiu-jitsu, it's like you work on things right now. But yeah, okay, so that's some of the benefits that I've gotten from it. Why did you start, and how did you start, and why and how, and so on?
Yeah, I mean, my decision was not actually, you know, like in the first place I wanted to do jiu-jitsu, so kind of like my path was that I wanted to do a teacher training for a longer time, like movement teacher training, in order to also, you know, like first for myself, also it's like kind of like showing up and yeah, like I always loved sports, and so it was something like to just like go deeper into a field of movement. And so for me, like, I do yoga for like a very long time, but I never felt that I want to do a yoga teacher. It was just because I love dancing, I love strength training, I love, you know, like, I love different things. So for me, it was like, I would like to have something that combines all of them somehow.
Not stay with one of them.
Exactly. And then 1.5 years ago, I stepped over Budokon, which is like the guy who invented this, my coach, Cameron Shane, and he is coming from MMA. So he's a fighter. And he trained fighters.
It's called Budokon.
Budokon.
Con as in fake.
What?
Fake Budo? No, does it mean anything?
It does mean something, yeah, but
okay.
I don't have it on my mind
Google
at this moment. Google it.
if you want to know.
And so, what do I want to say?
Yeah,
so yeah, exactly. And so I started this movement art form, which is like, they have a yoga part, they have a mobility part. And so I did this 1.5 years ago at my home because they have this online course that goes for 4 weeks. And it changed. I was very frustrated in the beginning because it's like movement forms that I've never did. It's like locomotive patterns. So like locomotion is like how we move on earth, like walking basically, but it's patterns how to crawl or move over the floor without walking. And you just like, yeah.
But I mean, you've been a dancer your whole life, haven't you?
Yeah, like I've danced, but still I felt it was, yeah, in a different, like still understanding it in a different way. It's more, I don't know, it was like a rational, like also in a rational and emotional way, like connected of how I really move, you know, like my body in a different way. I cannot explain. And so this, changed my whole movement practice basically. And I practiced Budokon not specifically the last 1.5 years all the time, but as I said, it had a great influence. And then this year I went deeper with myself of, you know, like what I want in my path and how also, you know, like I want to move on in my practice, like in general, like my movement practice, but also connected to my coaching and what I want to learn more in order to also serve more, no, like holistically for my clients. And because I feel movement is such a big part of your health and of also our mental health. So for me, it's like, okay, I would love to learn this. And then I got this year...
for the reason of movement.
For the reason of movement and, mental and physical health, basically. And... and then magically this year I happened to go to their camp in the US, which was for 4 weeks. So I was 30 days there, and it was a combination of different teacher trainings. You could just go for 2 weeks and do just like the yoga and mobility part, but I just went and I was like, okay, I just go all in. And I did also, so I did yoga, Budokon Mobility, and then Budokon Mobility for Jiujitsu, which is kind of like that you combine the mobility, but then into where can you apply this in Jiujitsu. And so we had Jiujitsu there. So we were training 6 hours a day, every day for like the whole time we were there. We had like 1 day a week
6 hours
off.
a day.
We had like one day off a week, and then the rest was like training. And we had like mind science also. It was like a whole amazing, you know, like such a deep dive for myself also mentally. And I have been facing many things of myself there because I have never done MMA before. So for me it was, maybe I have like done 2 boxing classes in my life or whatever, but because it was something that was uncomfortable and I knew it's not something that, you know, like I'm good in, because I always tried, okay, I learned fast, where am I good in? And so I just do that. And so this year I was like faced with, I mean, first of all, like if you've never done it, your body's in a lot of pain, first of all. And for me, it's like, don't give pain too much power over you. That's what I've learned and got from there. And then it was I don't know, I feel it was just, it just got me, because it's something that applied. It was a connection of, like so many things from jiu-jitsu that you can do in any sports, but that you can apply philosophically to your life. There were like so many lessons I learned that I was like, wow. And then the movement, and like it's, for me, it's like a dance in itself, like with another person. And then it's also very technical, and you kind of, it's like also very like feeling, like sensual, like in the sense what I said before, like feeling and thinking. And sometimes you just feel like what you have to do, or I don't know, like I mean I just started, so for me there's so much to learn. But it's somehow, it's giving me a routine. I feel how it's giving me also like this confidence and sense. It's like a commitment to something. Where when I was a kid, I danced and I went on competitions, but when I was 16 I didn't go anymore, and then I was only going to the gym, and so it was more about looking good. I do the sports because I want to look good, but this is not the case. Like in jiu-jitsu it's like different. You just like it's about like the way you move, what your body can do, and it's not for me about looking like you look like crazy when you're like sweat all over and whatever. But it's not something you think about. You're like, it pulls me. And this year I was even surfing, and this also pulls you in the present moment, but still you're on your surfboard, you can still think, but there you cannot think. Like if you think too much like about your day or what, like for me I don't even do this, because if you do, you're fucked, like you're done. So that's, for me, it's like it's a meditation, and it's how you're murdered. So it's like it pulls you, and I feel like always I'm an hour there, and I was just present for 1 hour. Yeah. That's like, for me it's incredible, and I go out and I feel amazing. It's like an explosion.
Right. Yeah. And talking about the body and the looks, I mean, if you want to burn calories, do you burn? Don't you feel like you just like...
Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy.
For sure. And I'm just like...
The intensity of it. If you want, I mean, you can choose to... It's those sparrings in the end, that's where it's like... really gets intense if you want to. And also like I really loved what Cameron, he said this in the summer, and that's what Budokon also really is about. It's like about like transitioning. Like it's about transitioning in the sense of how we transition from one position to the other in jiu-jitsu, because it's not like just an armbar, just like, so it's like the Budokon gives you the mobility of like the transitioning, and then also the art, like how much grace and how much aggressiveness, or how much, so, and you can really apply that to life, like how, like analyzing yourself. And also we are different every day, so maybe you have a different day and you're like one day more aggressive, but how do I show up on the mat? How do I show up in life? For me, it's like that has been such like a mind-blowing thing for me of like, do I just like, like oftentimes we don't know what to do, and we just do things like very fast in order to cover up that we cannot do it. And so we get just very aggressive, and then it's like, okay, no one saw that, I can't. But in the end, just like slowing down, like, and being open and honest that maybe I cannot do the technique yet, but I tried slow, I'm analyzing, I'm, like in that sense, and really. And this is the same in life, like slowing down. We're just doing everything too fast. And that has been for me like such a in my brain that I can see myself on the mat. And and also when, like when you're too fast and then you injure and you're like, fuck, okay, I have to, it's like, realizing a lot of things. And what I really also love is the respect everyone has, like I don't know, like I love
the ritual of, you know, like you're greeting everyone when you come in. Like there's this like, it's something that I have never had before because I have never done martial arts before, and
it's very specific to I don't know.
Jiu-Jitsu.
I think Japanese martial arts, you know, there's that code, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu comes from Japanese Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a nice. That's also a part. I mean, there's
many.
The only part I don't love, if I can mention the only part I don't love, is the smelly part. And it's normally beginners. I'm not talking about you now. But yeah, you know, in the beginning, students might not know about how, I think, for me at least, and I'm sure for the other ones that are training and that come there every day, that you smell good. I mean, that you don't smell bad.
Yeah.
That you don't smell like acidy or ammoniac, or, you know, like just because you didn't wash your stuff properly or you didn't wash it. You know, in the beginning, I only washed my kimono after every second training. Because I thought like, it's not that bad, you know? And yeah, now it's like,
Yeah.
So, and some students, they come and it's like, dude, you smell like urine. Yeah. That's heavy, but that's the only thing I don't like. But the other things, like, you know, the culture, the code, how the class is built up, and of course not every trainer or coach is doing the same way or asking for the same things, but in general you can go into, I would say, most academies in the world and they would be happy to have you and introduce you, like very welcoming, and you have that in some sports. But for example, I don't feel like that when it's about MMA or Muay Thai, for example. And of course there are also some people in Jiu-Jitsu, they just come there to train, they don't come there to socialize necessarily. I don't feel like that sometimes. I don't feel like socializing every time. You know, you have dark moments or moods or whatever, and you just want to come in and murder your demons, that's it. You know, and so it's like sometimes it's more social and sometimes less, but still there is this code feeling.
And I don't even feel like, because I also I'm not so social, I would say. Like I go and I'm super focused and concentrated for me there, but it's more like the respect, and I had like really good, also like the physical, intimate, connective part, you know, like it's like something that you just break because you're very close with, you know, like different gender, and you know, like and it's just something that I didn't like. Possibly there are other women that maybe have a, like, you know, where you really have to learn more to feel like comfortable with this. I didn't have this from the beginning, that I was like, oh my god, this is too close or whatever, but still it breaks. Oh, it's close, I like it. It still breaks. I don't know, like it's because in general I feel like often, and I realize at some point, that we have this like, I'm scared of men, you know, like in general it's like a innate thing in women, that it's not that I'm running around and I feel scared of men, but that, you know, like when you're on the street, that there's not like a full trust in that sense. And there's, first, for jiu-jitsu is one thing, I can defend myself, you know, if there is someone I can really truly not trust, but then also to build up trust around men, you know, in that sense. And because we are not that many women there, it's something that I felt super welcomed when I entered the school.
Nice.
And I felt comfortable. Like I wanted to look at other schools, but I did not even try, because I was just like, no, I feel great in here. Yeah.
That's good. That's nice. Yeah, and about this welcoming and the atmosphere and so on. I think it's easy in the beginning to be intimidated in general, coming into a place where it seems like everybody's super macho. You see like high ranks. You see the ranks straight away, on the belt and so on, and that can be intimidating. I think in the beginning. But I would like to say also, if there are people that are listening that are into jiu-jitsu and in the beginning, you're also part of the culture. You can take place and you can participate in creating the atmosphere that you want. So you can smile to people, you can talk, you can ask, you can like chat, you can greet even if you're late. Like you can, I don't always, if I come in late, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to interrupt and say hello to everybody straight away. It depends, sometimes I'm feeling bad and stressed because I came late. I came straight from work and I'm rushing over there and like, and that's something I'm dealing with as well, to not punish myself for not punishing myself for coming late. Some trainers don't like it. Some trainers don't care. They rather have you come than not come at all. But it depends. It depends on your reasons and the coach and so on. But I think you should know that you can and you have permission to be part of creating the culture and the atmosphere. And
I don't know, like also for me, something as a woman, maybe it's also for men, that I was breaking in the summer, and this helps me now a lot.
What do you mean,
what
breaking
I'm
in the summer?
realizing, like breaking something in my brain in the summer, I'm going to explain it now, is that like feeling things, because like jiu-jitsu is tough, like it's something that is like you go and you like roll, and it's something that sometimes you don't have like strength anymore, or you're out of whatever. It can be quite brutal. Yeah, exactly. And so for me,
on the body,
probably if I would have like in the training in the summer for this 30 days, there was like breaking patterns so much in my brain of like, oh, this is tough, or that hurts, or no, I can't. It's like, no, you can, like you can. It's just like in your mind that you basically just like repeat this. And so for me, this is helping me now to be so much more present. Like I go and I don't have this that I'm feeling like, oh, maybe I cannot do this. Oh, she's better than me. Oh, like I don't think, I'm just there and I'm think like, okay, like I try to learn, and that's it. I'm doing my best. And I'm just doing my best also to like like be physically there. I mean, you can always take a round out if you really feel like tired, but like what I mean is like losing energy of this like brain thoughts that we sometimes have, like this blah 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 that just takes so much energy from us, that like in the summer I was just like so many patterns that were breaking, that now probably I would have come in the school without this and felt like intimidated and oh my god, I don't know, like more. Now I feel like more okay, like I start, and of course I don't know a lot of things, but I'm here to learn, and I don't want to compare myself all the time, because that just makes me feel that just stops me from learning.
Would you say that you were a different person before that month in the US where you did the training 6 hours a day?
I learned a lot. I had like times when, especially the jiu-jitsu week, and then the last week where we were boxing and sparring a lot, I had like 2 or 3 times where like I was crying out of frustration. Like I was like with someone sparring, and because there was one guy, it was good. No, I was actually grateful for it, but I wasn't covering myself a lot. And then he was just like, not hard, but he was punching me in the face because I wasn't covering, punching me in my face. At some point,
was this jiu-jitsu?
No, that was like the last week where we were doing MMA and sparring. Okay. So it was like the third week was jiu-jitsu, and then the other. So in jiu-jitsu, I first hurt myself so much. Like I I was like, I had my ribs strained, and then I had my back hurt, and I was just like all the time first in my mental pattern of like, oh, this hurts. And my coach was like, you know, just get over it. And it was not, of course, like rest, but still like get over it. And so that was for me like a whole journey of like, okay, not thinking about my pain, but just like being with it. And then I could still train, and it was okay. Of course, seeing my limits and not being like, oh my God. And then the last week, was the guy who was, I mean, in a very, very light, but it was just this like interruption, no? And at some point, because I always want to learn, I want to be like, as you know, perfection and doing and learning things very quick. And the first or second day you can't, because everything is coordination, everything is fast, and you know, like you have to learn to do this coordination first. And I was just like, but I went out, I cried, and I went back, and I was crying even, and I was doing, you know, like I was still like doing it. And until I lost, you know, like the pattern of I can't, I was just like, okay, just go for it. And then I forgot about it. And then I started like day 3, 4, 5, I had like a learning curve because I could break that. And I mean, still have, of course, a lot of patterns to break and learn and or improve or whatever. But that was something that was like a fast track of me, first of all, knowing I was in the past, you couldn't teach me anything, like anything. Wow. It was like I remember like my ex-boyfriend wanted to teach me skateboard, and whatever he said, I was like, I know.
Oh, I would have hated you.
Yeah, no, for sure. Everyone hated me. And, you know, like, but I learned now to listen and to be like, hey, yeah, I want to learn. Like, but it's something that I needed to, like, 180 degree, like, turn around. And so
breaking the patterns.
That was in the summer, another, you know, like another deeper layer, like scraping a little bit more of that, I would say. And there's probably still some left, but yeah, it's like scraping, like slowly and steady.
Yeah. It took me a year. I mean, I'm still learning to listen more during the classes and take it in on a deeper level, on a different level, and you know, like getting more out of what is being taught. But in the beginning, I didn't understand much of the Spanish, and they were speaking. I was speaking Portuñol, so it was very hard to understand for me. And so I was watching, and I thought, well, you know, learning by watching. Yeah. Cool. But eventually I started to realize that, okay, I am compensating what I'm lacking out in theory and technique, like technique theory, let's say the grammar, you know, learning about the grammar. So I know in language learning, learning grammar, you don't need to learn grammar, but it's gonna help you so much. And if you learn grammar for one language, it's gonna be much easier to learn for the next. It's like you learn the system and the how it works behind the scenes, and you know, not understanding the theory behind the technique, the words being told, you know, this applies in this position, holding it like this and holding this onto here. It's good in these positions. When you're ever in this place, I wouldn't understand those parts. I would just watch what I'm seeing right now. And so I think I compensate a lot with the strength that I had because I came from weightlifting before, like lifting weights and fitness, and so I was flying on, you know, this wave or wing of using my strength for a long time. And then when I got injured, I couldn't use my hip anymore. I couldn't shoot. I couldn't push. I couldn't, you know. So I had to learn something different. I had to relearn a lot of things. I had to accept that I cannot use my strength in the same way. I was trying to use upper body strength a lot for a long time, you know. But I was like, okay, now it's time to tap in more to defense maybe, or standing up instead of being on my back and so on. I had to change a lot of things. And still because I still have these things, the pains, the stuff, they're still there and they come and go. So but now I can listen much better. And especially since I started teaching, I became a way better student. I feel. If you ask the coaches, I don't know what they will say, but I think so. But yeah, you can always learn to learn better. You know, to take it in better, to listen more, to listen to the words and to the, you know, in between the lines, and understand things on a, you know, from a bigger perspective or on a deeper detailed level and so on. It's fascinating.
I mean, in general, no, it's like that we don't listen enough, and that's like, it's like a muscle that we can learn to improve, like in everyday life, where like how much we listen. So
for sure,
it's good.
Yeah, I mean, when teaching a language, you know, and there is a questions, you know, or any school test for that matter, you know, it's like, remember, read the question, read the instruction carefully, read the question carefully, because if you miss out one word, it can change the whole meaning, what you were looking for, you know. So paying attention to that will give you better results, or closer results to what is optimal, or what is being taught, or whatever. But okay, I wanted to ask you about, you posted about your moon and the femininity the other day.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very nice perspective on your moon and the moon. Which, what does that mean? Could you is that something that you could
like being on the moon, sitting on the moon.
Being on the moon, and yeah.
I mean, like.
What does that mean?
It's just menstruation. Like, it's a word for menstruation, because like you can. Period. The thing is, like, I think it comes. To be honest, I wouldn't even be like 100%. But if I just like connect it, women, or we are pulled by the moon cycles also, and in general. You cannot say
I meet some people, grown-up people, some women that they're like, no, it's not related to that. I'm like,
So, like, normally if you come from like ancient wisdom, that women were menstruating on the new moon, and then they were ovulating on the full moon, and women would go together in tribes, like somewhere else, because we are
like, everybody would have it at the same time.
Everyone would have it at the same time, like, yeah, in like past, like,
that's what I hear also, that women can, if they live together, they can connect and have it. They sync.
We sync.
Yeah.
And so they would all menstruate at the same time, and then they would go into nature or whatever, you know, like they are in nature, but they go to a certain place. And then they would come back with like insights, because we are very connected, you know, like it's a down, and from an Ayurvedic perspective, where it's called like apana vayu, which is called like a downward energy flow. Okay. And so this connects us to the earth and the water, and you know, like
a waterfall.
Yeah, it's like a waterfall.
Okay.
and so, if for me it's like, first, like on the first day, you know, like if I take time, I can really have like connection with like deeper insights sometimes. I don't always do it. Like this year I was traveling a lot, and I hosted events, or there was always something that was happening. I didn't really have the time to mostly do it. So now I was home, and then I also twisted my leg last week, so I was like both together. I was okay, I can just stay home and do nothing, and basically just like enjoy. I listen to music, I journal, I do just connect with myself without being on the phone all the time or distracting myself. And so it's like, yeah, you can just connect, and then also as women, and this is what I mean, we don't rest enough during the period. We kind of like function as normal because that's like something that we are taught. We just put like, and I say like, we put a tampon and nothing is happening, and then we go and we do sports, and you know, but we're bleeding. Like it's something that is, it's like
it's happening whether you cover it up or not.
Exactly. And like our body needs a lot of energy also for this, so it's a time where is a time more to rest. And it doesn't mean that you cannot walk and that you cannot, maybe you can do like a low yoga, but no inverted poses, because otherwise you know, that doing handstands or like pushing or like pulling or whatever, for me is also, if I'm very
the body
connected,
is already pushing something out, right?
And for me, like I'm also very like, I don't want to go, I'm very like introvert, I don't want to go mostly like really outward. I can sense that my energy is more inward than outward, whereas like when I'm ovulating, I'm just more, you know, like social, and I want to, because I mean that's also the time we want to have like intercourse and want to make babies, you know, like just from like an evolutionary perspective, that also just makes more sense. And as a woman to just connect to that more, also, you know, like how do I feel socially, how do I feel also with my couple, for instance, no, like how do I want to be touched, and this doesn't mean just like in a sexual way, but also in many different ways, how, you know, like, and this is more like the listening part to yourself, and that for every woman is different. And yeah, and we could also avoid a lot of pains, because like menstruation pain is not normal, what we think is normal, and PMS,
so it's not normal.
No,
to have pain when you're menstruating.
It's not normal. It's mostly also like,
it sounds very controversial
imbalance
to me as a man.
Why?
Because I just hear a lot of women are in pain, and like,
yeah,
whenever I've said that I have this feeling that it doesn't make sense that human women, like human beings, the female, is having extreme pain once a month. Some of them, not all, but a lot of women, like a big portion, have extreme pain, and you need to cover it up with take painkillers or contraceptive pills, not to protect yourself from getting pregnant, but to deal with the pain. And to like disrupt your natural cycle with hormones, which is like, you know, to me, I compare it with taking steroids in a way. Maybe I'm really being really stupid about this right now, but it's like you're playing with your hormones in a sense, right?
But that's because we always, you know, like we try to keep up, and we are always like, and there, everything that we were talking before comes together. It's like understanding yourself, living, you know, like finding the causes in your life that are causing this, you know, like stress and hormonal imbalance. Maybe you don't sleep enough, you don't rest enough while you're having your period. What are you eating? Like, I'm working with women, and there has been like incredible changes. They come with like PMS and pain, and then after like 6 months working, it's they know, you know, like, if it doesn't mean that they changed their whole life and that they are like following and that they never have pain, but they experience the periods when they really do take care, that they don't have pain. And then you kind of relearn, because then your body is like, okay, now I don't, so this is what I have to do. Doesn't mean you fall back, you never fall back into the patterns.
So you had pain in the past?
I had pain when I was younger. Like, I had incredible pain when I started to get my period. I was like dying, and that
doesn't sound nice.
had incredibly strong periods, and then I got the pill because of that, and then it was fine, which I then took for like 10 years. And then at some point I was like waking up that this is actually not good for me. And then after I left it, I still had some pain, but yeah, since Ayurveda, I have changed a lot. Like, I don't have pain. I don't, like, also my period in general changed, like the strength of it. And so I can sense every time I'm taking care of myself, you know, the way my period is and the cycle, and that it comes like routined, or if I don't and have like stressful moments in life, which we all have, that it also affects my period. And I also feel the more I rest on my period, the more strength I have throughout the whole month.
Wow. I never heard these things before about the period. You know, I always was curious with my girlfriend or the one I was seeing, and of course seeing your partner in pain. I was never happy about that, and I always had the feeling that, you know, taking the pills is maybe, I don't know, I just a feeling in me that it's probably not a great way. It's not probably the best way to deal with this. And I mean, who am I to come with this? But I would try to communicate with my partner and understand, you know, what can you do, and try to come with ideas, whatever. But there was always like, no, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just the way it is. And then they would have like one puff of weed. She wouldn't like weed. This one for this ex-girlfriend. But at that time, her cousin told her like, and she would just like, and in like an instant, 90% of the pain was like, you know, instantly. I was very fascinated about that. Like, wow, that's a much better way than taking painkillers.
Of course, but it's also just like a symptom killer, no? Like you don't address the actual causes that they are. And what I feel is that we just mislearned in today's world to really respect and honor our female energy, you know, like to take time, to not feel bad about it when we're not always like doing, which is like more the masculine, no, like action orientated energy, and
getting
just
out,
being
getting
like,
things done.
Exactly. And just like allowing also to honor, and that is not just for women, but like in general, like we're talking now with women and also in their cycle, to really honor that time and take some time for ourselves and be more playful. Like, you know, feminine energy is like more playful and creative, and just take moments for that. And for me, like I really had to learn to allow myself. And as I said, like this year also many times it didn't always happen that I try, if I can, you know, like to make space for it, but it's also not like always happening.
Once in a blue moon. Nice. Okay, so whoa.
How long did we talk already?
We're in 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Oh wow, what? Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably people are like already like if they're still there.
And the ones who are still here, you're like,
you're on it.
You're awesome.
You're awesome.
You're awesome. But this is, we could go on talk about this for a long time, especially about, you know, the positive feminine energy. I like that. You know, I didn't think of it like that before. I just thought like, what's it called? Feminism, you know, people have strong opinions about that, and of course I had that as well. No, of course, I mean, I had that as well before. Maybe not that extreme, but I think it's a very interesting topic about, you know, the masculinity and the femininity, and what is you know, toxic. There's one guy, Jiujitsu guy on Instagram. He has this shirt. He puts a lot of like toxic masculinity stuff. Yeah. And then he got himself a shirt. I want to get that shirt. It says intoxicating masculinity. I'm like, yeah, I like that. Isn't that awesome? Intoxicating.
Masculinity.
But that's a nice topic. I would like to maybe we could in the next one,
in the detox one, where
possibly or some other time to get deeper into that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's an amazing topic. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Jana. Good talk.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Jiu-Jitsu world as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not completely new, but
no, but
it's
I
good
am new. So
to have more, especially more women in Jiu-Jitsu. I just have this feeling that, you know, it just makes you feel more confident on many different levels, and it's fun, and you get strong, and if you have any fear of men, I hear so many girls like, you know, going home in the night alone. It's just scary. And of course, maybe that doesn't change, you know, even after you do jiu-jitsu, but at least you might feel like, okay, I know what I am capable of.
Now
it's
I
not
can
only
kick this guy's ass.
at least I'll try, you know, or flying armbar.
yeah, totally. I mean, for me, like, to be honest, I haven't been really scared. Like, I mean, in Barcelona, you know that you can get robbed or whatever. And I'm always, like, in certain areas, I'm attentive. Yeah. And I didn't feel scared before, but now I know better how to defend. You know, like, before I wasn't scared of, like, oh my God, I would do something. Because I also felt always, like, strong in my body. But still now I have the, you know, like, the ability to truly, like...
It's like this...
defend myself.
Jocko Willink quote, or, you know, like I think it's a Navy SEAL quote. You don't rise to the level of your whatever fantasy or whatever you think you are capable of. You will fall to the level, like in under pressure. You will fall to the level of your training, of your practice, of what you've learned. So people fantasize like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I will do this and that, and then, you know, life hits you, bang. Okay, shall we wrap it up? Nice. Thank you. Nice. Can we do it?
An awkward.
That was a first awkward high five. That's nice. Good. I like it.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
If you made it until here.
You know what you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Ciao. See you next time. Bye-bye. Oh, wait. Before. Do you have any social media that people can follow?
It's called...
find you.
Holistic West.
Holistic West.
Holistic West.
On Instagram?
On Instagram.
Okay. Is that your main place?
That's my main place.
Cool. Holistic West.
Place to be. Place to contact me. Place to follow me.
Nice. Thank you, Jana.
Thank you.
Bye again.
Bye.